What happens when the nation's top law enforcement office can't even control its own directives? That's the question that exploded during a tense congressional hearing when Attorney General Pam Bondi faced off with Representative Frank Mervyn. What started as a routine discussion over federal funding for local police quickly spiraled into a political firestorm that touched on three explosive issues: the rescinding of crucial grant dollars in Indiana, alarming gaps in America's cyber defenses against Iran and China, and a mysterious email that may have crossed the FBI's independence. The hearing exposed contradictions, vague promises, and one shocking admission that raised serious questions about the leadership of the Department of Justice itself.
County in Michigan City that were force multipliers that were technology such as license plate readers and the COPS grant. I'm asking you today, what can we do to ensure that those funds are going to continue to flow to my district? And in light of the HIDA, I'm in Northwest Indiana, Gary, Indiana. We are a HIDA district where we have the Chicago traffic. That's vitally important to my district. I just need commitments that that funding will continue to be going forward and that our agencies will have that support.
Congressman, thank you for bringing that up. I'm well aware of the HIDA. I believe that's in Maryville. Is that correct?
You are correct.
And yes, that funding will remain where it is. We do not intend on touching that funding. We want to protect HIDA.
Very good. So in light of the escalation with Iran, part of our cybersecurity and our infrastructure when it comes to our electric grid, our banking systems, that is a new threat. Does this budget reflect increasing our cybersecurity protections, and how is the Department of Justice going to protect our infrastructure when it comes to bad actors such as Iran coming directly at our infrastructure in a cyber attack?
Yeah, we have $50 million for cybersecurity, and also in the one big
With an M, 50 million?
50 million, yeah,
Okay.
but also in the one big beautiful bill, it is also addressed to give us more resources. And you know, it's not only
Can I
Iran,
ask-
as you well know, it's China as well. But
Right.
yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you.
In the
Congress.
reconciliation, tomato, in the reconciliation bill, can you tell me what more resources are going to go towards cybersecurity? Because I was under the impression that was decreased.
Can I get you? I will get you those numbers.
Okay. Yes.
I want to do everything I can to help you protect cybersecurity, all of us in this country, not only again with Iran, but also with China and all of our foreign adversaries around the world.
Okay. And then just a question of curiosity that I have. Director Patel was here a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about the emails that went to the FBI agents, meaning, please tell us what you did at the end of the week. Give us 5 reasons why you did. At first, Director Patel said that that didn't exist. Then he specifically said, well, that came from the Department of Justice to the FBI agents. And his words, I told them not to fulfill that obligation. How do you manage that if you give a directive to your director of FBI and he chooses not to fulfill that? And where did that information go? So when someone from the FBI, an agent, fulfilled that obligation of giving you the information of what they were working on, where did that data go and how is it secured?
Yeah, and Congressman, I'd be happy to see who answered that, but I asked, when I learned about it, I asked that it be withdrawn, and it was, that email.
When you learned about the email going to the FBI agents, you asked them to withdraw it. Who did you ask to have it withdrawn?
My entire office, and it was.
So it is unknown who sent that email?
Well, it came from my office, but when I learned it went to the FBI, we asked that it be withdrawn.
Where is the gap of my understanding? If it came from your office, you're telling me you didn't send it?
I didn't realize it went to the FBI. That email went out.
So-
And the purpose of that email was to make sure, just so you know, it was to make sure that these people were sitting at their desk and working and alive, that there were people actually
Okay, and
responding.
I
It
agree.
could have been, I got up and got a cup of coffee.
Sure.
That
So
was
without
the
going into
purpose.
that, the people that did answer it, where did that data go?
I will find out. I will get you that information.
And I only ask as a national security issue as
Absolutely.
they are working on sensitive issues. And I thank you for joining us, and I yield back my time.
Thank you.
Representative Mervyn opened the hearing by striking at an issue close to home. In his district of Northwest Indiana, police and first responders rely heavily on federal funding to support crime-fighting initiatives. Over the years, those grants brought in vital resources like license plate readers and additional staffing under the COPS program. He painted a picture of the impact those dollars had in communities like Gary, East Chicago, Lake County, and Michigan City. But in 2025, much of that funding was suddenly rescinded, weakening the framework that keeps neighborhoods safe. Mervyn pressed the Attorney General directly, asking for a commitment that this money would continue flowing to the high-intensity drug trafficking areas that border Chicago and filter crime into Indiana. Pam Bondi at first appeared calm and confident. She assured Mervyn that the funding for HEDIDA, as well as the other grants, would remain untouched going forward. She even acknowledged the importance of those programs to his district. On the surface, it sounded like the reassurance communities were waiting for. But as Mervyn pushed for specifics, her answers grew thinner. There were no details on how the Department of Justice planned to safeguard those funds against future cuts, no concrete plan for ensuring consistency, only vague assurances that they had no intention of touching the programs. For Mervyn, that wasn't enough. For the communities who depended on those funds, it sounded like promises without accountability. And for viewers of the hearing, it marked the first sign of a troubling pattern in Bondi's testimony: confidence on the surface but little substance underneath. Then the focus shifted to a much broader national threat: cybersecurity. Mervyn asked a question that struck at the heart of America's vulnerabilities, with tensions escalating overseas, particularly with Iran and China. What was the Department of Justice doing to protect the country's electric grid, financial systems, and critical infrastructure from foreign cyber attacks? This wasn't a hypothetical scenario. In recent years, Iranian hackers have been linked to attempted disruptions of U.S. power systems, while China has been accused of massive data breaches and surveillance operations. The congressman wanted real answers, real figures, and a real strategy. Bondi's response raised eyebrows. She stated that the DOJ had $50 million dedicated to cybersecurity efforts, and referenced additional resources in what she vaguely described as a big beautiful bill, most likely alluding to a reconciliation or omnibus funding package. But when pressed for details, she admitted she didn't know the exact numbers and promised to follow up later. $50 million may sound like a large figure, but in the context of national cyber defense, experts argue it is symbolic at best. Compare that to the billions spent by adversaries like China and Russia on offensive cyber capabilities, and the gap becomes glaring. Critics have already suggested that the DOJ's cyber posture is reactive, underfunded, and insufficiently coordinated with other agencies. Mervyn's line of questioning exposed just how unprepared the department may be when it comes to defending against foreign cyber warfare. Bondi's vague answers reinforced the concern that the DOJ was not equipped to handle what could be the next major national security crisis. But if the funding questions and cybersecurity gaps raised doubts, what came next shook the hearing to its core. Mervyn pivoted to a question about an email directive that had caused whispers in Washington for weeks. The email in question, allegedly sent from the Department of Justice to FBI agents, ordered them to file weekly reports on their activities, giving 5 reasons for what they had done at the end of each week. At first, FBI Director Patel had denied such an email even existed. Later, under questioning, he admitted it did come from the DOJ, though he claimed he instructed agents not to comply. The matter seemed to have gone quiet, until Mervyn brought it back into the spotlight. Confronted directly, Bondi acknowledged the email originated from her office. But then came the line that left the chamber in stunned silence: "I didn't realize it went to the FBI." She insisted that the intention of the message was merely to confirm employees were present at their desks and working, not to interfere with FBI operations. Once she learned it had reached agents in the bureau, she claimed, she immediately ordered it withdrawn. But the contradictions didn't stop there. When asked who had actually sent the email, she said her entire office had been involved, without being able to identify anyone specifically. When asked where the data that had been collected went, she promised only to find out later. For lawmakers, that wasn't good enough. The idea that a directive from the Department of Justice could land in the inboxes of FBI agents without the Attorney General's knowledge represented more than sloppy oversight. It raised the specter of DOJ overreach into FBI independence, a boundary designed to protect investigative integrity and shield sensitive operations from political influence. If agents had complied with the directive, even briefly, it could have compromised sources, exposed investigative methods, and put ongoing cases at risk. For a department already under fire, Bondi's admission of ignorance was nothing short of explosive. The fallout was immediate. Political observers noted that her testimony revealed a dangerous lack of internal control within the DOJ. Critics argued that if directives could slip out of the Attorney General's office without her knowledge, then the entire chain of accountability was broken. For the FBI, it raised fears of surveillance by their own overseers. For Congress, it signaled the possibility of deeper dysfunction within a department that should embody precision and discipline. And for Bondi herself, it marked the moment where her credibility began to collapse. As the hearing drew on, Mervin's questions remained steady, persistent, and pointed. He did not yell, he did not grandstand, but he pushed for accountability at every turn. Bondi, meanwhile, moved from initial confidence on funding, to vague deflection on cybersecurity, to outright contradictions on the FBI email.
Each exchange peeled back another layer of dysfunction.
What began as a discussion about federal grants for Indiana became a showcase of lapses that cut across local safety, national defense, and internal oversight of the very agencies tasked with protecting the country. Politically, the consequences are already unfolding. Bondi's admission has placed her leadership under a harsh spotlight. Democrats are seizing on the email scandal as proof that the Trump-aligned DOJ lacked control and transparency. There is talk of subpoenas, demands for documents, and new oversight hearings targeting the DOJ's communication with the FBI. Some Republicans, too, may find themselves unable to defend what looks like blatant mismanagement. If the scandal continues to build momentum, it could become a viral symbol of dysfunction within the administration, a moment replayed endlessly as evidence of a department adrift. For Bondi, the damage may already be done. The funding promises she made to Indiana communities may be forgotten. The vague reassurances on cybersecurity may fade into the background. But the phrase "I didn't realize it went to the FBI" will stick. It is the kind of statement that captures attention, sparks doubt, and erodes confidence. Whether it was a genuine oversight or an attempt to dodge responsibility, the perception is the same: the Attorney General was not in command of her own office. That perception alone may shape how Congress, the media, and the public view her for the remainder of her tenure. So what does this all mean going forward? It means oversight hearings are likely to intensify. It means the DOJ will face louder calls to account for its cybersecurity preparedness and its funding commitments to local law enforcement. It means the relationship between the DOJ and the FBI, already sensitive, could face even greater strain. And most of all, it means Bondi will have to fight not just for policy, but for credibility. Once lawmakers and the public lose confidence in the competence of a nation's top law enforcement officer, it is nearly impossible to win it back. The hearing that began with discussions of Indiana law enforcement ended with revelations that could shake Washington for months. From hollow promises on funding, to weak answers on cybersecurity, to an email scandal that raised the specter of DOJ overreach, Pam Bondi's testimony has ignited doubts about her leadership and her department's ability to safeguard both the nation's communities and its security. And as Congress prepares to dig deeper, one thing is certain: the questions aren't going away. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an update.